Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 8:43 a.m. South African time. We cross over to Tehran in Iran, and we'll be talking with Alireza Kamandi. And this has to do with the worry by the people of Iran, are deeply concerned regarding the reimposition of UN sanctions on Iran. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program, Alireza Kamandi. You're based in Tehran and you are an Iranian journalist to talk to us about this very worrying situation. Welcome back. And we understand that these past few days, residents in your country obviously feared the sanctions that has been imposed once again by Western powers on your country will deteriorate the already ailing economy, which has been hard hit by US sanctions and a maximum pressure campaign. Your thoughts?
Okay. Thank you for providing this opportunity for me at first. And, in order to reply to this question, I have to say, first, we need to come back to the Islamic Revolution. I mean, since the Islamic Revolution came to true and Iranian people could feel a kind of freedom and they could
Okay, we've just lost sound there. Alireza Kamandi's picture has frozen. We're going to check if we can reconnect. In the meantime, we'll take an ad break.
me. Hello.
Oh, yes, welcome back. Yes, thank you. Welcome
Okay.
back. Your picture
Yeah.
froze there.
Yes.
Please
Okay. So,
continue.
yes, and since the since the beginning of the Islamic Revolution, and for more than 4 decades, Iranian people have been under different kinds of sanctions, unilateral sanctions, unfair and brutal sanctions. So, snapback mechanism and activations of the sanctions, some sanctions following the snapback mechanism, it's not something to be new for Iranian people. And in other words, Iranian people are used to being under these kind of sanctions. They have somehow adapted themselves with the different kinds of sanctions. So although sanctions bring some difficulties for each nation and for the people of a country, and we cannot ignore this matter. For Iranian people, the story is somehow different. And I want to tell you, Iranian people have been resistant against these kind of sanctions. But let me talk about the Islamic mechanisms, and some sanctions have been imposed following it through another lens. Islamic mechanism, it's not a kind of political um, mm, pressure. It's not a kind of economic pressure on Iran. It is also a kind of political pressure on Iran. As you know, Iranian authorities, Iranian foreign ministry, has tried all possible ways and solutions to have a kind of diplomatic ties with the
Okay,
European.
can I come in here? Can I come in here if you don't mind, please? Obviously, Western governments are saying the reason why they have now activated what they call the snapback mechanism. And this is, of course, the sanctions being reimposed or further imposed on Iran. This has to do with the nuclear program, Iran's nuclear program, and also the fact that Iran is not allowing Western governments to visit the nuclear sites to check just how far advanced Iran is regarding their nuclear programs. But at the same time, Western governments themselves have nuclear programs in place. Why are they putting so much force and pressure on Iran? That's the one question. The second question being that Iran has been supporting the Houthis in Yemen uh, in their support of the Palestinians regarding the genocide. Do you think that this could be some form of punishment on the people of Iran because they are supporting the Palestinians by way of their support on the Houthi population?
Yeah, definitely. Iran is the center and the axis of resistance in the region, and Iran supports every country that supports oppressed people, of Palestinian people, and every country or nation is against. Uh, is against a kind of a brutal behavior against humanitarian. So the West, in particular, the United States cannot see a strong Iran. As you know, as I said at first, Iran has been under cruel and crippling sanctions over 4 decades. But fortunately, during 4 decades, Iran has made progress drastically, and it was behind the expectation of the Western countries. Iran has achieved really great advancement in producing spot missiles, and Iran right now is one of the missile powers in the world. So they feel a kind of threat. Why? Because they want, the United States, Israel, and NATO want to bully many countries in the region, in the West Asia. So when they see a country like Iran has stood against them, so they cannot tolerate the situation. It is completely natural. They impose a different kind of sanctions to limit and to bring different barriers on the way of Iran's progress. So they want to make a kind of punishment for Iran and for Iranian people, but in fact, and at the end of the day, they won't be successful. And I'm sure Iranian people can overcome and can deal with this kind, the current situation, and will pass it successfully. But the point that I was going to tell you regarding snapback is, a snapback is a kind of a political leverage that the West impose against Iran, and because they want to, sorry, they want to pave the way for the new round of aggression against Iran. So, Iranian authorities um, made did their best to have an agreement and negotiation with the U.S. and with the Europe, but a kind of reasonable negotiations, not a kind of unilateral negotiations. And because as you know, the demands of the Europe, the U.S. was really unacceptable, and it was not rational for Iranian side. So Iran could not accept those demands, and they were somehow excesses demands. And right now, as I said, just they want to pave the way for a new round of aggression against Iran by reinstating snapback mechanism.
Okay, let me ask you another very important question. Netanyahu, genocidal Israel, have also made noises about possibly attacking Iran. Is that a real fear as far as Iran is concerned? Or do you think that Western powers are afraid that if Netanyahu does stand by his threats, that Iran could retaliate by using nuclear power against Israel? And I mean, that could possibly be quite catastrophic as far as the Middle East is concerned.
Yeah, at first, I have to say, according to the leader of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei's verdict, making nuclear or atomic bomb is not acceptable based on the Sharia principles for us. So Iran is not looking for making a nuclear bomb or atomic bombs, and it is just a kind of accusations that made against Iran. And as I said, they want to, that kind of accusation just paved the way for them to, to wage a war against Iran. But right now, the fact is, the real or the naked fact is two sides. I mean, Iran and Israel are getting prepared for every kind of every possible aggression, and definitely Iran won't be the initiator of the new round of the attacks or strikes. But Iranian armed forces are fully prepared. And as they said, Iranian armed force fingers are on the triggers. So definitely, as Iranian authorities have warned several times, if the Israel wants to restart, if the Israel wants to resume the aggression, this time the Iranians' retaliatory operation will be, tougher and really more destructive than before.
Okay, so a little while ago, a couple of months ago, Israel struck on a couple of nuclear facilities in Iran. And I think the rest of the world kind of felt that Iran did not retaliate in a forceful manner. Why do you suppose that Iran didn't strike back very forcefully? Was it because they didn't want a full-out war, which, as I've indicated, would be catastrophic for that region, on the neighboring countries as well? Or do you believe that perhaps Iran doesn't have the might to take Israel on? And we do know why Israel is targeting Iran, because of Iran's support of Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and other such groups. So your take on the very softly approach by Iran, not taking a retaliatory action against Israel when 2 or 3 of their nuclear facilities were bombed by Israel?
So if you're talking about the bombardment of the recent 3 Iranian nuclear facilities,
Yes.
like Fordo, Natanz, and another one,
Exactly.
yeah, it was not bombarded by the Israeli regime. As you know, it was they were targeted by the United States, and
Mm.
United States entered the war, and the Israeli regime was not able to target those facilities. And as you know, after targeting the Iranian facilities, Iran targeted the biggest and the most strategic military base of the U.S. in the region, Al Hodeidah, based in Qatar. And Iran gave really big blow to that military base, and Iran showed that is not is really serious when the its interests come to the scene. So just if I want to somehow correct what you said, they were targeted by the American, um, yes, armed forces. I mean, American bombarders, and Iran retaliated immediately, and so it was a big lesson for the U.S. And the U.S. realized that Iran is really serious, and Iran will never, will never put aside its interest, and Iran will defend its the interests until the last, life which is in its soul.
Okay, thank you for that point of correction. Let's wrap up now and talk about the current situation. And of course, we are talking about the snapback mechanism that the Western world is using as a tool of sanctions against Iran. If negotiations are not successful, how dire will the situation be for Iran? Or, as in the past 4 decades, as you referred to, Iran was able to self sustain? Do you believe once again Iran will forge ahead, make a plan, and self sustain?
Well, Iran has right now, Iran has its own tools for retaliating. Iran has already warned that if the snapback mechanism gets reinstated, it will suspend its cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA. And as you know, before activation of the snapback mechanism, Iran had an initial agreement with IAEA in Cairo, and it was somehow maybe the ground up, or it was the first steps to resume the cooperation with the agency IAEA. But since yesterday, I mean, when the snapback mechanism got activated, Iran wants to suspend or maybe cut off its cooperation completely with IAEA, and it may withdraw from NPT. So it would be I think it's a kind of retaliatory tool in Iranian hands, and it would be the upper hand for Iran because the West cannot tolerate the situation, and it would be a big pain for the West.
Okay, we've got to wrap up now, but thank you for your point of correction regarding the US having bombed those sites in Iran, the 3 sites. But of course, it was in support of Israel as well. And undoubtedly, Netanyahu too had a role to play in those strikes. But be that as it may, we will be watching the space very, very closely. And inshallah, du'as for a very positive outcome for Iran. But thank you indeed for your insights on this matter. Go well, and assalamu alaikum to you.
Thank you for having me back.
It is 1 minute after 9 o'clock. Thank you for keeping us company. A reminder that the second hour of News and Views is sponsored by African Muslims agencies. And in this hour as well, we will bring you the Fired Up series with Hafiz Imran Chunara, personal excellence mentor and CEO of African Muslims Agency. So look forward to that. And once again, as news from the marketplace before we continue the second hour of News and Views, which is, as I've indicated, brought to you by African Muslims agencies.